What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Footy with an Edge. Manchester United have started yet another season on the wrong foot after scraping by with a 1-0 win against Wolves and losing 2-0 to a Harry Kane-less Spurs in Week 2. And based on all the reactions I've seen online, I know most United fans are absolutely losing their shit after a deeply disappointing loss. But it is important to put things into perspective, because if you don't understand the underlying reasons behind the string of poor performances, you're just going to start calling for Ten Hag's head after about 5 games. So today, we're here to talk about 5 things that are wrong with Ten Hag's new system, so that hopefully by the end of the video we feel a little better about the season ahead. Before we get into it, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as we're very close to hitting 25,000 subscribers. Over our last 3 videos, we've had a combined 240,000 views, but on average only 13% of you are subscribed to the channel. It'll only take you a second to drop a like and subscribe, but it's going to help me and the channel out a lot. So as an added bonus, if you do hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications, you'll be one of the first to be notified as soon as a new video drops. So now let's get straight into it. Now, before we get into what's wrong with Ten Hag's new system, let's understand what it is first. Last season, we saw a lot of 4-2-3-1 being played as the 3-3-1-3 in possession, with a front 3 of Rashford, Antony and Martial, or Rashford, Weghorst and Antony, with some game time given to the likes of Sancho and Garnacho. Then you had Bruno playing in this free role where he had most of the chance creation duties by either linking up with the wingers or occasionally dropping deep to play long balls in behind to Rashford or Antony. In midfield, we had both fullbacks in Wan-Bissaka and Shaw playing next to Casemiro, and they would operate in these inside channels all the way up to the final third, where they had the flexibility to go out wide and overlap. And probably the most unique part about this system was the role of Christian Eriksen, who played in this deep sort of quarterback role from the back, where he utilized his midfield maestro capabilities to start attacks from the defensive third and link play all the way to the edge of the opposition box. So how successful were we with this system that you see on the screen here? We finished 3rd last year with 75 points, which was our 2nd highest points tally since Sir Alex's retirement 11 years ago, but we struggled to score goals by netting just 58 goals in 38 games, which was the 3rd lowest among the top 10 teams. And despite keeping 17 clean sheets, we conceded 43 goals, which is 10 more than Man City and Newcastle managed, with actually fewer clean sheets. So despite our successes in the table last season, we can actually blame the lack of goals scored and the plethora of goals conceded down to this system. It was just far too open, with only Casemiro and our center backs left to defend in most cases, and it wasn't lethal enough to convert the number of chances that we managed to generate through Bruno being everywhere and our fullbacks bombing forward all the time. So given how successful we were with a broken system, and given that Ten Hag has had a full preseason and a full summer transfer window to fix major issues like the lack of a ball-playing goalkeeper, it is natural for us to expect bigger and better things from his new system. So what changes have we actually seen so far? The new system looks more like a 3-1-4-3 in possession, and the primary difference is how we build out from the back because of having someone like Onana in goal instead of David De Gea. Basically, Onana plays outside of his box as the 3rd center backs next to Martinez and Shaw, and Casemiro is left alone at CDM, with Fernandes and Mount playing next to the fullbacks in almost an attacking midfield area, and the wingers are high and wide next to the striker who plays through the middle. In this new system, Onana in the outfield playing as that 3rd center back allows us to basically attack with 7 players, because that Eriksen quarterback role that we just talked about is no longer necessary. Onana is the new quarterback, and Mount or that number 8 player can be further forward in an area like this to provide some extra control in the midfield. So in theory, this sets us up to play a more possession heavy brand of football, where we can pin the opposition in their own box by creating overloads all across the middle third and the final third, and we can bypass any high press through our goalkeeper's composure on the ball and his ability to find anyone on the pitch from deep. Take a look at this example from the Tottenham game, where we start with Varane chasing after a loose ball inside his own half over here. As Son presses Varane, he plays the ball back towards Onana, and we're going to pause it right here where the ball is close to Onana. Look at how tight the angles are over here for any pass that he can make straight to the 3 players you see on your screen. The pass to Varane here is difficult because he has to go around or above Son, and Varane is kind of near the touchline, so it can potentially go out. Martinez is being marked by both Richarlison and Kulusevski on the other side, and Casemiro over here is being marked by Richarlison and Maddison, who's just off screen. So where exactly can Onana pass it without going long? Obviously, Onana does the most Onana thing possible and plays a perfect pass through the middle to Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right hand side. And now all of a sudden, United have bypassed 4 Spurs players because of that one amazing pass from Andre Onana. And this immediately gives United a man advantage because we are now 7v6 on the counter-attack. And Wan-Bissaka has tons of room to run into on the right here and make something happen. And in this same play, Wan-Bissaka passes it down to Bruno here, who plays it to Rashford, and had he not been offside, we could have potentially created a goal-scoring chance from this one pass. So you can see how this is a very exciting new system that actually changes how we play completely compared to last season and makes us a much more threatening attacking side. And if all goes well, we should be able to score a lot more goals this season. So what exactly is wrong with the system? What's stopping us from executing it perfectly and making us the team that this clip shows we can be? While this formation promotes free-flowing attacking football, it's also prone to be very open at the back and in defensive midfield. This formation puts a lot of pressure on Casemiro and the 2 center backs to cover huge spaces that are wide open with very little room for error. And passes from Onana need to be inch perfect in order for all of this to work. And the pressure on these 4 players here is even higher because Mason Mount is not a number 6 and he's not really a number 8 yet either. He lacks the physicality to provide any physical support, any strength in midfield. And I haven't seen the evidence yet for him being a very press resistant player yet either. So essentially we're very weak in the midfield right now, and that kind of scares me. And I found the perfect clip from the Tottenham game to show you an example of just this. We start with Onana picking up the ball inside his own box with Martinez and Varane next to him and Casemiro in front of him in this area. Notice how none of our fullbacks are in the picture because Ten Hag wants them to be providing the width in midfield like we just saw on the tactics board. As the center backs move up the pitch to get into position, you can see Tottenham's high press in action with the 4 Tottenham players that are on your screen right now, with just 3 United outfield players. As Onana gets ready to play this ball into Varane over here, look at how close that ball is to getting intercepted by Richarlison. Thankfully, the ball reaches Varane, who passes it out to Martinez, and if Martinez can find Shaw on the left-hand side over here in the space, United have technically bypassed all 5 of these Tottenham players. But do you see how small the margin of error is for the back 4 over there? If Richarlison intercepts that ball or Varane takes a loose touch, it's an easy goal for the opposition. So Ten Hag definitely needs to think through this strategy and either deploy a different one or get a better midfield option where someone like Mount can drop a little deeper and provide that physicality and press resistance that we're missing at the moment. My second concern is related to the first one in some ways because it has to do with too much positional flexibility. It is bad enough that the formation is too open at the back, but it also seems to be too open up top as well. Out of the 7 attacking players that you can see here, only 3 of them play through the middle in Mount, Fernandes, and Rashford. And Rashford is a striker that likes to run the channels, but we're in a situation where we don't have wingers that are very effective when they interchange with him and play through the middle. Like Antony or Garnacho can't really play that number 9 role or have that hold up or build up play through the middle. They're very effective only in wide areas. So as a result, we have a situation where we don't have a focal point through the middle, even though the front 7 are constantly moving around. And this leads to pure chaos and a lack of presence or control in the midfield or the attack. And I'm going to play the second part of the clip I just showed you guys as the perfect example of what I was just talking about. As Martinez picks up the ball from Varane here from that dangerous pass from Onana, he's about to play it out to Luke Shaw on the left-hand side. As the ball arrives at Luke Shaw's feet, pay attention to his passing options centrally. He can basically only play the ball to Mount over here because Bruno's too far out on the right-hand side and Casemiro's too far behind him. The spaces between these 3 midfielders is way too high. So naturally, Shaw looks forward and looks at Garnacho and Rashford playing on the shoulder of the two defenders, and he tries to play a ball in behind to Rashford that gets easily intercepted by Romero. Now, if that ball found Rashford's feet, it was probably a goal, but this is not a possession-heavy strategy that our new system is supposed to promote. It's not a strategy that allows you to control games. It relies on chaos and our ability to get lucky, so to speak, because we'll keep relying on difficult balls and hope that the opposition switches off or we get a lucky deflection or something to go our way. In my humble opinion, Ten Hag either needs to make the team more compact in possession so we can actually direct some of the play through the middle, or we need to develop a prime Antonio Conte style system that relies on width and crosses into the box to score goals, because the one thing that the system offers right now is a lot of width. But even there, we have some issues because we have wide players that want to cut inside and shoot, not wide players that want to go on the outside and cross. And we also have a striker in Rashford who can't really do much with crosses. My third concern is one that I had last season as well, and it's the fact that some of our best players keep playing out of position. I don't care what anyone says, Marcus Rashford is not a striker, and Bruno Fernandes is not a right winger. For the first 66 minutes in that game, Bruno played in the number 10 role, and he was involved in the game by creating chances. He was putting in Rabona crosses into the box for Rashford, and he was playing Trivela passes left and right for Antony and Garnacho to run in behind onto. For the last 24 minutes of that game, when Ten Hag subbed Antony and Garnacho off and moved Bruno to the right wing, Bruno was barely involved in the game and he was getting increasingly agitated with his teammates. And when it comes to Marcus Rashford, my take might surprise some of you. I don't think he was actually terrible yesterday like social media might want you to believe. Yes, he could have done better with that header in the 23rd minute, but he only had 3 shots in that entire game and all of them came in the first 23 minutes. So for the last 62 out of the 85 minutes that he played, he was basically just a body on the field. He got no shots in that time against Tottenham. And all of this comes down to the system not creating sufficient chances for him. Garnacho, Antony, and Bruno combined had 12 shots in that game. How is Rashford supposed to be effective when he's in a graveyard shift? And don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against Rashford having to do the hard yards, but then we need to have the players around him to carry the team, right? Those 12 shots from those 3 players need to be converting into 1 or 2 or 3 goals. In my opinion, Ten Hag just needs to stop messing about with Bruno and Rashford and play them in their best positions. Just play Rashford off the left and use Sancho as a false 9 or Martial as the striker till we have Højlund ready, and play Bruno at 10 for 90 minutes. I don't care what happens. Don't move Bruno around. My fourth concern has to do with match fitness and match sharpness, because the individual concentration and fitness levels are just not there. And you might ask what this has to do with the new system or with Ten Hag, because surely the players and the fitness coaches are to blame here. So let me explain what I mean by this. We've already discussed how the new system is completely different to the one that we played all last season, because someone like Onana just opens the door to a totally new style of play. So this basically means that all 10 outfield players are experiencing completely new patterns of play this season, even though 9 out of the 10 players that you see here played together in the same team last year. So while this system is clearly better than the one we played last year, it is also very difficult to execute to perfection. And this difficulty is similar to the systems deployed by Man City, who play with Ederson in net, or Liverpool, who play with Alisson in net, and any other team that basically plays with a ball-playing goalkeeper. So while it is completely right for Ten Hag to want to deploy the new system ASAP and leave no room for excuses, he needs to have a plan B where it's a slightly slower transition to a new style of play that's so drastically different from the one we played last year. Because right now players are misplacing their passes, they're missing the perfect weight on the pass, and forwards are not shooting the ball correctly, the headers are also misplaced. The team in general is just not able to deploy the system that Ten Hag wants to perfection. And I'm worried that we're going to get spanked by some big team and cause another meltdown in the fan base. My fifth and final concern with the new system is that we don't have the right players to execute on Ten Hag's ideas. At least that's what it looks like from the first 2 games. Antony is far too wasteful on the ball. Garnacho is far too wasteful and far too inexperienced. Rashford is not a striker that provides a focal point that's needed by this system. Mount is not the right partner for Casemiro when needed. And we have very little coming off the bench. Sancho, Martial, Dalot, McTominay, and Lindelof aren't world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. We need to get a more defensively minded midfielder through the door immediately, and potentially another cheaper but more experienced striker that can take some of the pressure off of Højlund and allow us to have a focal point in some games. Just Andre Onana is not good enough to help this team transition to Ten Hag's new system, because at the moment, he's the only new signing that's enabling us to make this transition. So in closing thoughts, my humble recommendations to Erik Ten Hag would be as follows. Bench Alejandro Garnacho right now, because he will be way more effective in the last 30 minutes against tired fullbacks than he is right now starting games. Play Rashford off the left and start Martial or Sancho through the middle. This will immediately improve 2 out of our 4 attacking positions. Play Bruno through the middle no matter what. If you need a midfielder to go out to the right, send Mount there. And finally, take some pressure off of Casemiro by asking one or both fullbacks to stay back in the build-up phase so that he has a little more comfort on the ball. Or try to play a more defensive-minded 8 instead of Mount, who can drop back and help Casemiro out. Overall, as United fans, I think we need to be prepared for a difficult season this year, because for all intents and purposes, Ten Hag way overperformed last year, and it would be foolish of us to expect the same or better this season, especially because the likes of Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, Villa, Newcastle, and Brighton have all gotten better this season. We have to be very careful about not setting unrealistic expectations of Erik Ten Hag, or this is going to be a very long season for us. What do you guys think about the new system? What do you guys think about the concerns that I raised in this video? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.